What is up, YouTube fragrance family and friends? I'm Tommy with Studio Sense. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about fragrances that are specifically slated for the middle of summer. I drive a car that's a Hyundai Veloster Turbo, and it's one of those turbos that doesn't activate until you punch it. And I mean, as soon as your foot depresses on that gas pedal, boom, you hear that whine that kicks in, the turbo kicks in, and you've got that extra oomph and that extra power. There are fragrances that are just like that when it comes to heat. When we come back, we're going to talk about these 10 high heat summer fragrances, what's great about each one of them, that and more, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're talking about high heat fragrances. If you have to work outside as a roofer, as a landscaper, as a construction worker, you're going to suffer that particular heat that comes from being out in the sun all day long. And if you're wearing a fragrance, chances are that scent's going to die about 3 hours into that midday sun. However, there are fragrances out there that are specifically designed for high heat. These fragrances that I have gathered for you today are going to do a phenomenal job. So we got 10 to go over, so let's dive right in. Our very first fragrance that we're going to talk about is from the house of John Varvatos. It is such a green, herbal, herbaceous, almost medicinal. You've got this cool mineralic feel about it with a little bit of florals. It opens with a citrus top. You've got iris, you've got petitgrain, and some woods in the base. And it's amazing, this fragrance. You wouldn't think it, but the more heat you subject this to, the more it actually grows in volume. It is a fantastic high heat fragrance. If you don't believe me, wear this in 80-degree weather. You'll be very surprised at the sillage trail that you create. John Varvatos, Artisan Pure. What would summer be without a marine aquatic fragrance? Well, this fragrance takes care of both of those needs. It is from the house of Bvlgari. Bvlgari Aqua pour Homme Marine is just one of the Aqua pour Homme line. A lot of people prefer Aqua Amara, some people prefer Aqua Atlantique. For me, I really like this, and probably the primary reason that I like this is because I've worn it in super high heat situations. I've actually worn this working outside, and literally like 6 or 7 hours later, I'll catch my scent trail and be like, I still smell this. I still smell it on me. This also has a really nice briny, salty seaweed sensibility about it, due in part to what's called Neptune grass that is in the formula. Really enjoy Aqua pour Homme Marine. Our next scent has actually not been out super long. It is a 2021 release from the house of Yves Saint Laurent. I was really excited to hear about the release of Y Le Parfum. It's the most refined, robust of the Y line so far. I wouldn't necessarily recommend Y the Eau de Parfum as a high heat fragrance simply because it's a little bit sweet. Over time, it does dissipate. As soon as it gets heat activated, it's just going to become somewhat overwhelming. What they've done with the Le Parfum formula is they've dialed back on that sweetness quite a bit. So since the sweetness has been toned down, this is perfect for high heat. You've got ginger, apple, geranium, some aldehydes. Besides being just an all-around fantastic year-round signature scent, this is an excellent high heat fragrance. Yves Saint Laurent Y Le Parfum in the heat of summer. One of the best Aventus-like fragrances that have been released in the last couple of years, at least in my humble opinion, has come from the house of Montblanc. Montblanc Explorer not only carries that same Aventus-y vibe, but it does carry its own really unique and strong personality, and specifically in heat. Right around that 6th or 7th hour when you're ready to give up, this is just getting started. There's something about the combination of bergamot, pepper, there's a little bit of leather in here, there's some akigala wood in the base, along with a good bit of ambroxan. You don't necessarily need heat to keep this going that 8th and 9th and 10th hour, but when you add heat to it, it becomes so much more effective. If you haven't tried it out, definitely doing yourself a disservice. Montblanc Explorer. Next up in our list of 10 fragrances that do really well in the high heat of summer and will last you all day long is a fragrance that not a ton of people talk about. It doesn't get the kind of love and discussion that I think it deserves, and it is from the house of Hugo Boss. Some people would write this off as just a shower gel-like fragrance. It's clean smelling, it's okay, it's just generic. I feel like this is an underdog kind of fragrance because not only is it an eau de parfum concentration, but it shows that it's an eau de parfum in its actual longevity. This, specifically in the high heat of summer, will keep you smelling fresh, soapy, and clean. It does have, I don't want to say a shower gel vibe, but it's got a really nice, clean, masculine, soapy vibe to it, and it's relatively unique. It isn't generic or smells like everything else out there. It's got its own kind of unique scent DNA or profile or footprint to it. It's one of those fragrances that when you smell, you're like, man, why am I not wearing this more? It's like you forget that it smells so good. Infinite in the top alone has apple, tangerine, cinnamon, and sage. All the characteristics that you really enjoy in a fragrance. As soon as it hits that 80-degree mark, it doubles in volume. I really like this fragrance, and I think you will too. Boss Bottled Infinite. There are fewer notes that can cut through the heat of summer better than the note of a Neroli. And one of the best Neroli scented fragrances is from the house of Bvlgari. Bvlgari Man Wood Neroli is a bright, clean, woody scent. It's got some nice citruses in there. It opens up super fresh with that neroli with some orange blossom. And it's got a good bit of ambroxan and amber in there. One good thing about ambroxan is it isn't daunted by heat. Heat only gives it more incentive to keep pushing forward, keep pushing ahead, and broadening your scent bubble. And there is a good bit of ambroxan and amber in the base of this. And when you add orange blossom, petitgrain, cypriol oil, some neroli in there, then you've got a combination that really just can't be beat even by the high heat of summer. Bvlgari Man Wood Neroli. You wouldn't think so, but our next fragrance is super refreshing to smell in the heat of summer. It's from the house of Ralph Lauren and the Polo line of fragrances. Polo Red Eau de Parfum. Now the best thing about this fragrance, just keeping it simple, is cranberry. Cranberry and more cranberry, that's what you get. Although it does have other red oriented fragrance notes. You've got red grapefruit, you've got red ginger, you've got lavender, there's some musk in here, there's some woods in the base. On your skin, it seems relatively muted until it hits that heat index. When it hits about 75, 80 degrees, this blossoms. It's almost like a huge cranberry flower that just opens up in your face. And it stays there for the duration of your workday, 6, 7, plus 8 hours, with just enough aroma chemicals to keep it going all day long. Polo Red Eau de Parfum. This next fragrance I'm going to talk about, I've only had for just a few days and I've already worn it out. And when I say out, I mean literally outside in the heat of summer. It's from the house of Missoni. It's not necessarily a beach scent in the tropical sense, it's more of marine. So in the top, you've got some citruses, you've got marine notes right away. You've got some really nice floral notes in here that combine to make a very powerful scent profile. You've got some geranium, you've got vanilla orchid, you've got Egyptian pelargonium. It's just a really strong scent with some floral notes that actually open up and blossom when it hits heat. If you haven't tried this one out, I recommend it. Missoni Wave. This next fragrance, you might wonder why I'm recommending it for high heat, because it doesn't really seem like it would fit that particular venue. The fragrance to which I'm referring is from the house of Versace. Versace Eros Eau de Parfum. Now the Eau de Parfum is drastically different in terms of the quality. It's almost so different that it's almost like a different fragrance than the original. Although it smells very similar to the original Eros, it's a true, what's called a true eau de parfum. They've actually come back and reformed it, and it actually smells like a much better version of the original Eros. Not only does it have that going for it, but it's got some really, really strong essential oils in it that when you get in the heat of summer are super refreshing. Primarily what I'm talking about are the lemon that's used in here, the spearmint. It's got a fantasy note called candied apple in here that is just super apple fresh. And it's got a good bit of high quality aroma chemicals like Haitian vetiver or pure, patchouli or pure, something called amber max that's really strong. So when you combine all that together, high quality ingredients, really good essential oils, and then heat, a good 9-10 hour day, I guarantee you will smell this on you in the high heat of summer. So if you just put Eros aside or you kept walking by it whenever the sun's gonna be out, it's gonna be 80 plus degrees, try it out. Get it back out and try it. You will really be surprised at how well it does. Versace Eros, the Eau de Parfum. Our very last fragrance that we're going to consider out of these 10 high heat fragrances that will last you all day is from the house of, similar to Eros, Versace. Versace Pour Homme, you know I had to grab it up. This is a classic high heat fragrance. It's almost a staple high heat fragrance in everyone's summer rotation. This is one of those fragrances that you can go ad nauseam to really quickly. When you spray it on, especially if you spray it around your neck area, in about 3 or 4 hours and you think it's gone, but the people around you are definitely picking it up and definitely smelling it, and even more so when you're out there in the high heat of summer. Versace Pour Homme, you've got Versace Dylan Blue, Versace Eau Fraiche. All of those really work well in the heat of summer. This one has bergamot, neroli, lemon, it's got tonka bean, it's got mineral amber, and just a little bit of oud to give it some oomph and some punch. If you're just now beginning your fragrance journey, this is one I would highly recommend running out and grabbing immediately, simply because it's very economical and it's one that has 1,001 uses. Versace Pour Homme. All right, guys, that wraps up my 10 high heat summertime fragrances that will last you all day. I specifically chose these because of the longevity factor. Most of these are eau de parfum concentrations, sit heavier on the skin, and therefore they don't project as well. You're boosting those essential oils with heat and with a little bit of your own body chemistry, your own body's oils, a lot longer and a lot further. Thanks so much for stopping by and checking out today's video, and as always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow.